All right. Hey, everyone. People are slowly filtering in. Thanks for joining us today. My name is Chris. Uh, I will get started in about 30 seconds, but while you're here, make sure you set the chat to everyone. Sometimes Slack defaults to hosts and panelists, and that means only we can see it. But once you set it to everyone, share who you are, where you're joining us from, and then since today is all about cross-curricular learning, what subjects do you like to integrate technology with in your classroom? Is it math, science, ELA? What do you like to do? And then we'll get started in about 30 seconds or so once everybody starts filtering in. Sherry from Kansas, complete STEAM, all of it. Wonderful. ELA, Matthew. Alberta, new computer science teacher. Previously taught math and science. Nice. More complete STEAM from Heather in Illinois. Nice. Oh, lots of people coming in now. STEAM, Ed, all subjects, every single subject, Katie. I like it. Liz from Phoenix, technology integration coach, ELA, math and science. Wonderful. Dave from Georgia, computer science and marketing. Oh, okay. Florida Keys, Katrina. I hope everything's good down there. Science, STEM, gifted teacher. Bots with most of my gifted learners. Excellent. Nicole from New Zealand. Nice. Math teacher. I use for all subjects. Wonderful. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. My name is Chris. Keep putting your names and where you come from into the chat, your favorite subjects to integrate technology with. Again, make sure it's set to everyone. I see some people are still set to hosts and panelists. That means only we can see it. Just make sure that it's set to everyone so everyone can see where you're from and what you like doing. If you have any questions throughout this, as you can see, the chat can get it can move pretty fast during this. So if you have questions for us, please use the Zoom Q&A feature throughout. Put your questions in there. We have a great mod team that's kind of behind the scenes answering questions. And that way we can track your questions, make sure we don't miss them. So that Q&A feature is really helpful to make sure that we don't miss your questions. We're going to talk for about 35 minutes or so, and we'll have more Q&A at the end if we have any remaining questions. And this will be recorded, don't worry. We'll send out the recording along with your PD certificate, but it usually takes about 2 days for that to go out. So keep an eye on your inbox later this week, and it will be available for you. I already said I'm Chris. My co-presenter is Todd. Todd, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, well, thanks everyone for coming this afternoon and for joining us. My name is Todd. I've been on the content team at Sphero for over 3 years now. Prior to my career in ed tech, I was a classroom teacher, mostly upper elementary, mostly some middle school as well. I spend all my time at Sphero working on our lessons and resources that teachers and students use in their classroom. So I'm really happy to share some of it with you this afternoon and see what you all think.
Great, thanks, Todd. As I said, I'm Chris. I'm also on the content team with Todd. I really like making stuff that kids like having fun with in the classroom and that teachers love using, which is great working at Sphero because we got lots of products that kids have fun with in their classroom. And I'm looking forward to sharing some of those with you today. All right, this is what we're doing today. Todd's gonna kind of walk us through what is a lesson, give us some tips and tricks around there. And then we're gonna walk through each of our new collections that we have for Bolt Plus. One on programming, or actually there's 3 on programming, engineering design, ELA, middle school games, and we'll kind of give you a hint or a peek at one of the lessons in each of those collections. And then we'll give you a sneak peek of what we're working on right now that will come soon in the future. We'll have a Q&A, and then at the end is our giveaway. It's usually everybody's favorite part. If you stick around this whole time, you will be entered to win a free Bolt Plus. So we look forward to that part. Todd, you want to get us started with lessons?
Yeah, so as Chris said, we'll be talking about lessons today. And if you're familiar with Sphero, you're probably familiar with the content of this slide already. But basically, there's two places in the Sphero ecosystem where you could see our lessons. One is in the website, which we're calling Sphero Central. For you all out there, it's edu.sphero.com. And then the other is in the programming app, the Sphero EDU app. We like to think of Sphero Central as a place for teachers to go, where you can browse our lessons, see what we have that you might want to use in your classroom. You can zoom in on lessons, you can read all the student instructions, you can preview the program, you can click on a lesson guide to get facilitation tips. But really, when it's time for you to use the lesson with students, or when you want students to go through that lesson, they need to be doing that in the Sphero EDU app. And in the EDU app, they'll have those lesson instructions, but they'll also be able to connect to the robot, and they'll be able to do the programming involved and actually complete that lesson. So how do you get from a lesson in Sphero Central? How do you get that lesson to students who are working in the app? Well, if you've done things with Sphero in the past, you probably know that there are classroom management tools. Like you can create an account, and you can create student accounts, and you could add students to your class, and you can assign lessons that way. But actually, there's a much easier way. If you are in a lesson in Sphero Central, at the top of every lesson, you'll see a little blue banner, and that blue banner has the lesson code. If you write that code down on a whiteboard or you post it in Canvas, and then students enter that into the app, they'll jump straight to the lesson where they will be able to complete it. It won't, if they're not logged in, it won't save to their account, but they will be able to complete it and work through that lesson. So really, if you haven't tried lesson codes yet, please give them a shot, because I think it's the easiest way to get students into a lesson. Okay, a few tips also before we get started. Really, we think it's smart to start in Sphero Central exploring the lesson collections we have. Collections are groups of lessons that go with a certain subject area or a grade level. You can complete lessons in order in a collection, but you can also jump around based on the needs of your classroom and your students. Also, every individual lesson has standards, but if you want like a higher level view of the standards in a collection, on every collection page, there's a link in the upper right-hand corner. You click on that, it'll open a spreadsheet, and it'll show you all the standards that align with the lessons in that collection. So it can kind of help with that planning piece and making sure you've got coverage. I know this next one isn't always possible, but if you review the lesson and the lesson guide ahead of time, we really find that helps teachers, identify what the key learning outcomes are, as well as think through like obstacles their students might encounter as they work through the app. Again, if you're doing this as a whole class, sometimes you just give them out to students and they work through them at their own pace, which works. But if you are in a classroom environment, we recommend completing some steps as a whole class, like the introduction step at the very beginning, the reflection step at the end. And definitely, if you're working through it as a whole class, pause your kids as they're working and give students a chance to ask and answer questions. All right. So now, Chris, let's jump into some lessons.
Cool. So I know this is cross-curricular, but we're starting off with 3 programming collections. These are 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0. Of our collections, you can, thanks Adrian for putting links to all of those in there. Some of our collections you can kind of pick and choose, like, hey, I want to work on this one, and then this one, and then this one. We do recommend that you go through these sequentially. So starting with programming 1.0, there's 4 lessons there, going through lesson 1, 2, 3, 4, then moving on to 2.0 with 6 lessons there and moving through those sequentially as well. The reason that is we kind of start with a base, like what is pseudocode? How does order influence your program? The way that you have your blocks ordered, what does that do? And then like understanding that, if you have a problem to solve with coding, there's more than one way to do it. And then we progress in complexity all the way up to 3.0, where we're looking at variables and functions. So we want students sort of building on the information as they go through each of these collections. That being said, if you're a teacher and you're working on variables and functions, go ahead and look at 3.0. You might see a lesson and be like, oh, my kids are ready for this. let's do it, that's good too. But generally, if you don't know where to start with this group, start at 1.0, the first lesson there, and then just kind of progress through them. For each of our collections, we're going to give you kind of a look at one of the lessons in there. This lesson is from Programming 2.0. I chose it because I like the names. It's 2.2 Nests, Not Just for Birds. 2.1, the first lesson in this collection, introduces loops. What are they? Why are they important? If you want to do something over and over and over again, a loop is your friend. It makes your code more readable, repeatable, and it's less moving blocks around and typing and stuff. So this builds on that. So we have a loop. What happens if we put a loop inside of that loop? So students they start with a program and they kind of make a prediction about what they think is going to happen. They run the program, they see what Bolt Plus does, and then they get to experiment with the values. So if you have a nested loop that is going to run 2 times, your main loop is running 3 times, how many times does that nested loop run? Okay, so we want students sort of making predictions, exploring, and then kind of playing around with it and having fun with Bolt Plus. From there, students move into making a program of their own using nested loops. And in the lesson, we have 3 different examples. You might have some students that are like, I know exactly what I want to do, what I want to create, and they're off and running. But we do have examples of like, hey, these are some things you can do with this if you're not sure where to get started. In the lesson guide that Todd mentioned, we have example programs of what those might look like. So that's that screenshot there. So it says one of the prompts was use your main loop to make Bolt Plus move forward and display a flower. Then use a nested loop to play a bee sound and display a bee animation twice. So as a teacher, you can kind of glance at it right away. You know what that program should look like. You can use that as a model for your students. If they're not sure where to start, you can use this as a model, or you can use it to check student work. So like, are they on the right path? So those lesson guides have a lot of information in them to kind of help you facilitate learning in your class and meet students wherever they are. All
Hey,
right,
Chris,
Todd,
quick
engineering
question from the chat that I think you'll be good at answering. Do these Bolt Plus programs work with just bolts? I know Bolt Plus has more bells, but a majority of my robots are still bolts.
Yes, so they will. There are some blocks that will not work with regular bolt. So just kind of keep an eye on that. Todd also will talk a little bit about like how these new lessons or how Bolt Plus works with old lessons a little bit later. But they should work. Just know that some of the blocks that work with Bolt Plus aren't going to be available for regular Bolt. But that's a great question, Abigail.
Yeah, and we have Bolt Plus is our newest robot, right? Just came out in summer of this past summer. And so all the lessons we're sharing today were written specifically for Bolt Plus and for Bolt Plus's new blocks. But by all means, if you have our old robots, go in there, look at the lessons. You'll get a whole bunch of ideas from them, and a lot of them will transfer over to our older robots with just some slight modifications.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that you have developed some of the programming fundamentals, you're ready to use Bolt Plus in some other disciplines. I'm happy that Chris did that programming fundamentals first, because sometimes if you try to jump into these cross-curricular lessons too early, when kids are unfamiliar with Bolt Plus or they're unfamiliar with our block canvas, it's just too much new all at once. So we think it's pretty important to start with a handful of those fundamental foundational lessons to familiarize your students with Bolt Plus and with our block canvas. So this first collection we're going to share today, Cross-Curricular Collection, is an engineering and design collection. You could see it is for grades 3 through 8. And if you look at the lessons in this collection, they kind of increase with complexity as you get deeper into the collection. So the first lesson there, All About Me, is really targeted at 3rd and 4th grade students. Students build a little avatar or costume for Bolt Plus. They can put it right on top of the robot, and then they can tell their classmates things about themselves through their robot. By the end of this, the Bolt Plus Powered Vehicle, which is much more of a middle school or higher engineering and design challenge, kids are challenged to actually build a mechanism that Bolt Plus sits on top of. And as Bolt Plus spins in place, their mechanism moves. So that one would be much more challenging, I think, for earlier elementary students. But on this one, we would encourage you to jump around.
Mhm.
And let's dive into a lesson here. The one we want to show you is called Obstacle Bolt Plus. This one is definitely for that elementary grade range. And students are challenged to design an obstacle course for Bolt Plus. And they're given some constraints. It's got to have a tunnel, it's got to have a slalom course, and it's got to have a jump. There are not in this lesson any more, the constraints aren't any more specific than that, but you're welcome to add your own. The other thing that we're hoping happens here is you ask your students to apply a theme. So in this example on the next page, you'll see kind of a Halloween themed obstacle course, but maybe you are studying something in social studies and you want to apply that theme to this obstacle course. Those are all good. So after students have they've built their obstacle course out of craft supplies, then they program Bolt Plus to roll through their obstacle course using at least 4 of the blocks that are shown in that image. Back to Abigail's question, the Bolt Plus specific block in this one that we're actually really excited about is a roll to distance block. So I can tell Bolt Plus I want it to roll exactly or pretty close to exactly 50 centimeters, and it will execute that block. With Bolt, you only have the roll for duration, roll for time, or roll for duration block. But that doesn't mean you can't do the same activity. All of our lessons are we target them to be able to be completed in one class period, so 45 to 60 minutes. But hopefully looking at this lesson, you can see how you could extend this into a multi-day project, right? On day 2, you leave those obstacle courses out, kids take a tour around and they shift to the next obstacle course and they try to program their bolt through that obstacle course. All right, Chris.
ELA. Okay, so we have an ELA collection. This is for grades 3 through 5. There's 7 different lessons in it. We have things about haikus, persuasion, figurative language, setting. It's a really good way to sort of integrate Bolt Plus and technology into your ELA block, which a lot of you are already doing. And this one, you don't have to do it sequentially. You can kind of just pick and choose. If you want to work on poems one day, choose the haiku. If you want to work on figurative language the next day, choose that. Our lesson that we're going to look at is about the hero's journey. So about 70 or 80 years ago, Joseph Campbell came up with the hero's journey. It's 7 steps or stages that every hero goes through, from the Odyssey to Harry Potter. He didn't talk about Harry Potter, but it still applies. And students are going to be looking at they're going to have a text, and they look at them, create a program that kind of goes through the first 4 stages. We chose 4 stages because 12 is a lot, and we want you to be able to finish this in one class period. But you can extend this, like Todd was saying, like we want these to be as flexible as possible. If you want students to do all 12 stages, go for it. It'll just require more time. So here we have each stage, all 4 of them. So we start with the ordinary world. This is where the hero, it's the beginning of the story. It's the hero's life as before anything exciting happens. Then there's the call to adventure. They have to take action. Refusal of the call. I don't know if I want to do it. Maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And then meeting the mentor. So the important thing to note about this lesson is that you're going to need some sort of story or text to go along with it. It can be something you're reading as a class, a shared text. It can be something students are reading independently. It could be even a movie if you want, because they're going to think about how these 4 stages in the hero's journey apply to that text or to that story, and then modify the program to make it like their story. So in the teacher guide, we have examples for what this might look like for Matilda, Harry Potter, the Lightning Thief, and Star Wars. So again, trying to give you a lot of ideas with how you might use this in your classroom. So in the ordinary world, Luke Skywalker, he's just a farmer on Tatooine, nothing really going on. The call to adventure, Percy Jackson learns his true identity and then goes to Camp Half-Blood. refusal of the call. In Harry Potter, he's like, oh, am I a wizard? I don't know. The Dursleys also kind of refuse the call for Harry. And then meeting the mentor in Matilda, she meets Miss Honey. Miss Honey recognizes her potential and sort of takes her under her wing. So there's a lot of good examples in there. There's also a link to a really great TED Ed video that goes through all of the stages that you could watch or your students could watch. And then they're going to apply these to their text and then bring it into the program. Bolt's going to roll around and tell us what those stages are. So it's a really good way to sort of integrate technology into whatever you're reading in the classroom and have them thinking about that text a little deeper and having a bit of fun with it.
And one more thing, just noticing from your screenshot, you mentioned this, Chris, but that image on the right, that's actually an image of the teacher guide. So in the lesson, one thing we've been working on is we're trying to keep our instructions to students shorter, more concise, just so that students stay really on track with the lesson and the assignment, and it's really clear what they're supposed to do. And then, but all that extra information that will help you as a teacher, like the examples that Chris shared, those are in the teacher guide. So please don't forget to click on those and see if they help you facilitate our lessons.
Yeah, thanks, Todd.
Okay, the last collection we want to share with you today is middle school games. And this one, like the title says, is definitely targeting middle school. So some of these games, Bolt Plus will roll around on the floor, and the floor is kind of like the competition field or the game board or what have you. A lot of these other games are actually, I think we often forget that Bolt Plus is not just a ball that can roll around on the floor, it's also a ball that you can hold in your hand. So a lot of these other games are handheld games. For example, that the one at the end, Sphero Shake, as it's at the last one in line, that Sphero Shake game you hold Bolt Plus in your hand, and when Bolt Plus shows a certain emoji, you shake Bolt. If you shake it at the right time, you earn points and you can level up. If you shake it at the wrong time, you lose a life and the game ends, right? So be thinking that some of these games take place in your environment, other games take place on Bolt Plus itself. All right, another one to jump into here, and I think I chose this one because I feel like it shows something about how we're trying to structure lessons. We want students to be able to open a lesson, read the first step, hit start, and for Bolt Plus to do something interesting, right? So it's automatically engaging. So in this one, Animal Charades, it's all based on that block, which is a Bolt Plus specific block. It's going to display an animal. If you look at that little cat symbol, there's a little shuffle icon in the corner. That means it's going to display a random block from the animal category. So you attach that to OnStart and you hit start, you're going to get a random animal. So simple enough, it's maybe going to show a kangaroo, and then students will have to act out a kangaroo while where their classmates try to guess why they are hopping around. But so that's on its own, we think is a fun way to use Bolt Plus, right? But if you go to the next slide, oftentimes charades games will have timers. So off to the side in this program, there's an on-time elapsed event block. But this is also a new block. And what happens with this block is after 20 seconds, as defined in this program, has elapsed, any blocks that are attached to that event will be triggered to run or execute. In this case, the program's empty, so the timer hasn't been programmed. So here's where kids get to be creative. They might have a sound play, such as an alert beep. They might change the display animation. They might make Bolt Plus shake wildly in their hand. But students get to program their own kind of timer to this game. And so we hope that, like, at the end, they all start with the same way. It's fun and it's interesting and it's engaging. But then while they're working out, learning about a game element, such as a timer in this case, they all end up with kind of a unique program to share and, you know, tell their friends and family about at the end of the day.
Great. All right. So coming soon, some things that we're working on right now. We're making two different science collections, one for elementary and one for middle school. These will be aligned to NGSS standards. One of the examples we're going to be using is, so why are some stars bright and others dim? Bolt Plus and Bolt have an ambient light sensor on there. So we're going to be using our Bolt Plus as a model of the Earth and a light source as a star. And students will be able to sort of move the bolt back and forth and look at those ambient light readings and notice, hey, the further we get away from our light source, the less ambient light bolt senses or our Earth senses, and make that connection to stars and their distance from Earth. Another one is waves. Bolt Plus waves, dropping it into a tub of water. It's going to be a little chaotic, but will be fun, I promise. So waves are kind of hard. What wave in water is very tangible, right? You can see it moving around. You can see Bolt Plus bobbing. When kids drop it in there, you can look at the sensor data and you will see waves in that sensor data. So we start off with a little bit of fun experiment, throwing Bolt Plus into a bucket of water, and then identifying what is the crest, what is wavelength, and looking at those different models of waves. From there, students move on. There's some different example programs that they start with that make Bolt move in waves on the ground. So Bolt will make some waves. Students will create a model of their own. Again, they'll label that crest and that wavelength. And then they'll be able to create a program of their own, making Bolt move in a wave. So there's a lot of experimentation here and a lot of looking at different models to underlie these concepts of what is a wave, what does it do, what are the different parts of a wave, and we're excited to sort of get these out to you. So keep an eye on them. They'll be coming in the next month or so. All right, Todd, more fun.
More fun. Yeah. So everything we've shared today, all the lessons we've given a very short description about are Bolt Plus specific lessons. They were written recently for Bolt Plus. But just like we talked about how you can use Bolt Plus lessons with Bolt, or yeah, the same is true and maybe even more true. If you have a Bolt Plus, really you can complete almost any lesson that is already published in Sphero Central or edu.sphero.com. There are a couple exceptions, like Bolt Plus does not have the on charger and on not charging events because Bolt Plus doesn't charge in exactly the same ways. And also Bolt Plus does not have a magnetometer, which we actually struggle with the utility and function of with Bolt. But most all of those lessons that you'll find browsing either through the Sphero created lessons or through the community created lessons are great to use with Bolt. You could either assign them directly with lesson codes, or you could just use it as an idea bank and be like, oh, that's a cool idea. I'm going to try to use it in my own way. One thing is with Bolt Plus, you'll probably be able to, and your students will probably be able to do this too, have a lot of great ideas. Make little tweaks to the programs, little tweaks to the lessons to make use of some of the new blocks with Bolt Plus.
Great. All right. So we're going to do a survey. Sherry, I noticed you mentioned, like, is there going to be space stuff? This is where we want to hear from y'all. This is the first time I've done a survey in this, but Cassie's going to start it. What lessons would you like to see from us? What subject areas would you like to integrate Bolt into in your classroom? So we're going to put this survey out. Go ahead and answer it. We really like getting feedback from teachers like you. So Sherry, thanks for bringing up space and science. Thanks everyone for responding to this poll. If you have some other ideas that aren't on this list, throw them in the chat because we do really take seriously like feedback from people who are actually in the classrooms and doing this every day and experts like you. And we use that to inform what it is we create. So right now I'm seeing a lot of robotics. That's great. A lot of elementary math. Mark wants some AI lessons. Okay. Sherry's very excited about space. We like space too. Social emotional learning, 11 out of 44. Okay. Social studies, geography. We're going to end the poll just a little bit just so we can keep on time. More +1 to the AI lessons. Great. Music, art. All right, I'm going to end the poll and share the results. Connecting programming to the writing process. That's cool. Kim, that's great. You might want to check out the ELA lessons that we were talking about earlier. There is some writing stuff in there, so that might help. Oh, Garrick from the Navajo Nation would be awesome. Nice. Yeah, not many soft words in the Indian language. Okay, cool. Thank you for your feedback. We will be using these to sort of influence what it is we create. Thanks. And then I noticed there was another question about like, well, we'll get to the Q&A now. So what can you do with Bolt versus Bolt Plus? I do want to give a shout out. Our last webinar that we had really introduced Bolt Plus and what it could do. So if you want to know in depth, I would recommend going back and looking at that webinar. I think some of the things that we're really excited about with the new blocks with Bolt Plus there's a manual drive event. So you can hook up in the middle of your program, Bolt can be rolling around, maybe it hits an object, and then it will trigger manual drive. So students, while their programming is running, they can drive Bolt Plus around, which is something brand new, only Bolt Plus has it, that we're really, really excited about. There's also these animations and images. There's like 660 different images that we have in there and animations. Those are also only for Bolt Plus that we're also really excited about. Todd, what am I missing? I know there's lots of new stuff with Bolt Plus, but what are you excited about?
Well, the display is such an obvious one, and the ability not the ability not only to show images but also live sensor data, so you don't have to look in the app to see that. You could also print text, so instead of printing one character at a time on Bolt, now you can show what's the max characters. I think it's like 60 or 70 characters on the screen at one time. Yeah, those are things I'm really excited about. I was looking at the chat too, like all those ideas that were put in there. There are so many great ideas, and we would love to have a team of 1,000 and be able to develop all those to the fullest. I would encourage people to go into Sphero EDU, into Sphero Central, and just search some of those terms. Like particularly with AI, we have a pretty cool Bolt lesson that kind of talks about ChatGPT and the kinds of prompts you can give ChatGPT and what ChatGPT can give back to you and whether you can trust it. So like that's an idea and an example of a lesson that would be fun to adapt for Bolt Plus and maybe take in your own direction. Oh yeah, the on button events are, so an on button event means underneath the sensor data, you will get 3 buttons in Bolt, and you can program what happens in this on button event. So you could say, play a sound, play a burp sound. If you hit the play burp sound, Bolt Plus will burp. So that's another way for students to kind of interact with Bolt Plus while it's in the process of running a program.
Great. I think we've answered all the questions, and our wonderful mod team has as well. So we're at our favorite part. It's a giveaway. You get 1 free Bolt Plus. It looks like Daniel Catley, Catley, you are our winner for today. Cassie from our team will reach out to you and send you your Bolt Plus. So congratulations. Thanks for coming today. And that's it. So thanks again, everyone. Remember, your PD certificate and a recording of this webinar will be, you need to buy a lottery ticket. You should do it. This webinar will be sent out. It won't be today. It'll be in the next couple days. It takes a little while to process and get all our ducks in a row. So look for it later this week. Thanks again for giving your feedback on what you would like to see more lessons of. We do take that seriously as we think about what we want to create. If you have any other questions, feel free to email training@sphero.com. If you're like, oh, we need more space stuff with this very specific rover lesson, we like to hear it. And if you're not following us on social, those are all our social things. Follow us, like us, all of that good stuff. But thanks everyone for coming, and thanks for telling us what you like doing in your classrooms. We love to hear it. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.